The third season of The White Lotus really changes the game of this show. The patterns set up for us in seasons 1 and 2 were quietly abandoned for something deeper this time around. The deal was simple. Episode 1 we learn of a murder, go back 1 week, we are treated to absurd travel porn, then meet a group of extremely wealthy but troubled individuals on vacation, whose troubles mostly involve their tumultuous interpersonal relationships. We focus on them for a week through the lens of a powerful construct like sex or money, then we watch them resolve the aforementioned interpersonal conflicts through a fairly superficial event that leaves them largely unchanged, so they can go back to their amazing lives with everything they wanted, while one unlucky character suffers a farcical and somewhat accidental death. But Season 3 switched the formula up in several ways. Not only by being the most depraved season yet, but by actually giving the characters growth, sharing cautionary tales to the audience, and even implementing classic storytelling tropes and themes to satisfy different arcs. It proved that Mike White was intent on breaking the mold and telling the viewers that the discernible motifs of this show, such as the murder, vacation, and wealth, will remain simple, and the story that is told underneath can shift tremendously each time. After watching Season 3, Seasons 1 and 2 look more similar. They are excellent in their own right. They do not deploy a traditional story structure, but instead zero in on a construct like money or sex and how it can impact people's lives so differently. In the first 2 iterations of The White Lotus, everyone has their own perceptions of the story's events. Nobody's really totally in the right or in the wrong. It's a good thought experiment for the audience, and the murder mystery leaves room for great theorizing. But at the end of both, we see a death scene that feels a bit anticlimactic, and watch the other characters head home with their problems seemingly resolved and without having experienced any kind of true change. The realism comes from the fact that money can mend a lot of the world's problems, and in life, things can often work out without inspiring much growth in us. There are some exceptions. In Season 1, Quinn ends his technology dependency, finds his calling, and stays behind in Hawaii, which can mirror some of the growth we will see in Season 3. There are shared themes of characters realizing they may not actually want what they think they want. In Season 2, Portia dreams of a daring adventure in another country, but after experiencing it, realizes it is absolutely not for her. In Season 3, Piper suffers from similar reverse growth by learning she cannot handle life without creature comforts. But there is no doubt that Season 3 felt different, so let's talk about why that is. I love that this season focuses on spirituality because it feels equitable among the characters. Religion is not like money or sexual power where some have more than others. Everyone in the show is entitled to their own relationship with God or Buddha or a belief, and we see this manifest in prayer throughout the show. Nearly every character prays during the series, and all prayers are answered by the end. We see Belinda making an offering early on to the Buddha and then receiving a great bounty. Victoria prays that Piper hates her night at the monastery. Tim asks God for guidance on his predicament and ultimately gains the strength to come clean. Zion prays for his mother's safety. Guy Talk uses prayer to overcome his struggles of being a security guard. Like I said, this felt different than previous constructs explored because there is no character with a spiritual advantage. We see individual beliefs shapes the actions of each character in a range of ways, and even see both sides of religious participation fully exaggerated with Frank. The characters we do not expect end up embracing Buddhist ideals and reduce their suffering as a result. The opposite can be expected for those who do not. In Season 3, we see the stories of Belinda and Gaitak come full circle. The two turn their backs on what they believe is right. They accept blood money and enact violence. And yet, both are rewarded greatly for this. Belinda is rich, and Gaitak has won Mook's heart along with a new job. It seems like it's happily ever after for the pair, but Mike White is literally spelling out what is going to happen here. Belinda immediately does to poor Chai what Tanya did to her in season 1 and backs out of their plan to start a business together. She is directly following in her footsteps, and we all know Tanya's eventual fate. The same goes for Gaitak. He becomes the bodyguard for Srilata, and will likely face the fate of her former bodyguards one day soon. The episode is literally called Amor Fati, their fates are sealed like those before them. Speaking of characters' fates, unlike the seasons before it, Season 3 offers us growth at the expense of resolution for each of the hotel guests. Take Tim Ratliff, for example. The show resists the urge to solve Tim's legal problems with the FBI on screen. The fan theories about Victoria having secured their money ahead of time or the family deciding to stay hiding out in Thailand were bogus. After contemplating horrible, heinous options all week long, Tim witnesses a glimpse of losing his youngest son, and this experience grants him the strength to head back home and face the music, trusting that he and his family can get through everything together. Likewise, Lori doesn't solve her problems, but she is able to grow. After an emotional week, she turns inward to better understand her life choices and finds meaning and belief through examining the time that has passed, marked by her friendships. Saxon is able to turn the corner on his shallow life and wishes to live in a more fulfilling manner, even though he doesn't resolve the awkward situation with his brother. Lachlan also seemed to grow his capability of independent thought during the season, as when he tried to follow his sister to the Buddhist temple, she remarked that he was fucking up his life, figuratively speaking, and when he tried to copy Saxon, he drank a poison protein shake and risked fucking up his life, literally. The one time he made a decision that stood apart from the rest of his family, i.e. when he told his dad he could live without wealth, it spared his life. And as I mentioned before, even Piper experiences change, albeit one that seems somewhat negative, but at least she is able to be honest with herself and her privilege in a way that she could not before. But lastly, the most splendid uniqueness of Season 3 has to be the tragedy of Rick and Chelsea. Rick and Chelsea, man, they are the first couple that isn't a total fucking train wreck on this show. They actually love and accept each other. Nonetheless, Rick cannot surrender his struggles with his identity and his desires, a core tenet of Buddhism, I might add. And because of this, he acts irrationally and suffers majorly as a consequence. We all saw it coming. The guy that was so hell-bent on revenge was unable to see the immense blessings right in front of him. He spent his entire life feeling like a victim of a man he never knew, and didn't feel it was resolved until he was able to victimize that person. Of course it didn't fulfill him the way he thought it did. It was undone completely in 3 seconds, just like his pal's years of sobriety and celibacy were undone with one tip back into his old ways. It was crushing to watch him try and fail to avoid his fate by begging Amrita for help, recontextualizing the season's opening scene for us. Rick had everything he needed to be happy with Chelsea, but the bloodthirst sealed his and her fates. The deaths of Season 3 were a familiar trope, but they were devastating nonetheless. In some bittersweet irony, we do get to see Chelsea live on through Saxon as he reads each of her books, seeking to gain her deeper spirituality and find his soul. The ending is poetic in ways that the show had not made us used to. Had we relied on the earlier seasons as a blueprint for this one, we might have guessed that this show would end totally differently. Maybe Tim receives a phone call that his legal situation has been resolved as Victoria reassures him that she will support him no matter what. Jacqueline and Kate could find out about Lori's fearful encounter with Alexei, console her, and help bring Valentin and his friends to justice. Maybe Rick misses his chance to enact revenge when Hollinger ends up dying an accidental death in front of him, but then is able to continue living a life with Chelsea. But no, this season's ending is different, and it still works. It's not perfect. I definitely think the show could have given Jacqueline and Kate more to do, as Lori feels like the only dynamic character of the three. They also left us hanging pretty hard with that weird scene where Kate approaches Victoria about a baby shower they met at years earlier. Some of the drama and tension felt pretty manufactured early on, and it was always resolved pretty soon after. And lastly, the show did get heavy-handed at times, like when we saw a flashback of the robbery to clue us in that Gaitak recognized Valentin's friend at the fight. But I read that Mike White hallucinated the story of this entire season in a fever dream he had while sick in Thailand when they were scouting this location, so pretty darn good all things considered. Otherwise though, I really enjoyed the departures that Season 3 took from the White Lotus formula, and I cannot wait to see what HBO cooks up next time. I think it's high time they did a snowy ski lodge vacation in Aspen or the Swiss Alps, and Mike White, David Bernard, I know you will need snowboarding doubles for this, so holla at your boy. Thanks for watching, Kings and Queens.